Hi, Ooooby Hubs. Welcome to the Ooooby Boost marketing presentation. I have put this together because I've had quite a few conversations recently with some of the competition winners that entered the Ooooby 15 competition. And part of that prize was for them to just sit down with me for an hour and just chat through their marketing and just throw some ideas and get the creative juices flowing. Some of them found it really useful, so I thought it would be worth pre-recording a short presentation just to give you all a few nuggets of ideas that might spark something to help you promote your company. Some of it might be something you already do and it won't be any use of you, but there might be a few little bits in there that you find helpful. So I thought it was worth doing. Anyway, let's crack on. So, what is marketing? You probably all know I don't need to teach you what marketing is, but it's just a formula of different techniques that give you a vehicle to shout loud about your business. There's 9 headline techniques that most people use. Content being one, so that's anything written about your business. So whether it be a blog, an article, just the content on your website, the content on social media, whatever it is, you're producing something for people to engage with. Social media, big one. So there's lots of channels and platforms out there to use, big ones being Instagram and Facebook, probably for our industries. There's email. So there's direct emails. So there's stuff like newsletters, there's promotional emails, and there can be one-to-one stuff that you can upsell with your customers. There's print, like flyers, posters, leaflets, the obvious. And one that we all kind of cringe about, but know that we should probably investigate is using influencers. So connecting with accounts on social media that have a big following that might be able to help us in some way. Public relations, so doing a bit of PR. There's direct mail, so the stuff that goes through your letterboxes or handed out person to person. TV, radio, podcasts, of which there is zillions out there now. There's local ones, national ones, international ones that could be something that you could feature on. And there's SEO, which is obviously taken care of with the Ooooby site, but worth mentioning. What is marketing strategy? Now, please don't instantly recoil when I say this, because I'm not asking you to spend months trying to put a marketing strategy together. What this is just to help you understand that a marketing strategy is simply a brain dump of ideas. It's some place, whether that be a notebook or on your phone or just a Word document with a few ideas to help you focus with what you want to achieve, whether it just be getting more customers or just more people knowing about you. It helps you find a place just to shove a load of ideas, roadmap where you want to be, and also start thinking about how much there is to spend or there isn't to spend when it comes to budget. Also, it's a great place to start learning more about your customer. So the demographic of people that you're heading towards. What is always helpful is to try and paint a picture of your most common customer. So who are they? How old are they? Are they a family? Are they a single person? Are they a retiree? Are they interested in food for health, or are they interested in food for convenience? How do they want to order? How often do they order? What kind of foods do they really like to order? It's painting that picture, and you can do that from looking back on the customer list that you've got or the types of recurrent orders you have, and you can quite easily paint a picture, and it can help shape your marketing because you know that type of person, where they might shop, what books they might read, what media they might read, what websites they might visit, what social media platforms they might be on. It helps you give you an idea, so you're not wasting time doing marketing that isn't going to be seen by the people that are interested in your brand. And long-term goals, so the things that you want to reach for. So the cheesy old term is where you want to be in 5 years, but it's worth thinking about. So it gives you some more focus, that you know that what you're doing is worth the investment long term, whether that be in time or money, and it just gives you a little bit of an idea of what you're heading for. So marketing goals, it's the obvious one, isn't it, really? The first one is sales, extra customers, more money coming in. The other one that is really important, and I hark on about all the time, is brand awareness. So it's making sure that your brand is out there and being seen all year round. And that is regardless whether you are a seasonal box scheme or you go all year round by buying in, or you manage to grow all year round. So it's making sure that you're drip feeding your brand across all of your channels, all of the avenues that you use, whether that's face to face, whether that's appearing at events, whether that's simply doing a few posts a month on social media. It's making sure that you don't disappear and reappear and you have to start from zero. So it's just always having your business in people's mind as much as you possibly can. There's been a lot of studies into subliminal marketing. So things like product placement. There was a study recently about they followed a group of teenagers that were going to a restaurant. In that journey, there were pictures of a particular food that was on that menu. They were on the back seat of a taxi. They were on a billboard. There was a poster. There was something on a radio show that they were all listening to that was on the taxi on the journey. There was something at the train station, but none of them really noticed the advert. But interestingly, when they went into the restaurant, they ordered the food that was on those adverts during their journey. They were not aware and did not, when the time came, they were asked, why did you order that? And they'd all bet on that they were going to order this particular food. They had no idea that they had been almost forced into ordering that. So there's a lot to be said about just being in the background all the time. Longevity and security go hand in hand. So it's marketing and making sure that your company has a long future ahead. Again, it will hook into that brand awareness and making sure that you're always out there and knowing that if for whatever reason, seasonally people go on holiday in the summer or they just move or whatever, you might lose 10 customers and you panic and you have to go into that immediate reaction of getting more sales, which is never a great place to be. If you have set up sort of waiting list, or you just have a network of people that you know are interested, but you haven't been able to take them on because you're full, because you're up to capacity, it's just knowing how to then tap into those groups of people that you might be able to easily win sales off and not have that horrible sinking feeling that you've lost people that you need to have on board. So marketing streams, again, don't recall, it's just a way of putting a sort of banner across all the different ways that you can market. And it's finding the right mix for your business. So some things will work for others that won't work for you. And it's just a case of trial and error, which can be hard work to start with. There's lots of things that go into picking the ones. There's time. You might not have the time to do certain other things. You might not have the right personality to do certain things. You might not want to be going out and doing loads of networking because it's just not the kind of person you are. And you might not want to be doing loads of things on social media. You might not want to have your face on social media because it just doesn't feel good for you. So there's lots of ways that you need to think about how to create that mix that's going to work for your business. The obvious one is printed promo. Loads of people do flyers and posters and leaflets. Of course, they are important and they're a great way of doing that thing where you might be doing a farmer's market and you've got a bunch of flyers. You might be, what we always say at Ooooby, so you might be delivering a box and you could just flyer the houses next door and the one across the road because people are already aware of you because you're delivering those boxes. You might be in a branded t-shirt or have a branded van, or obviously the box might be branded. So people are kind of aware. So that sort of printed promo has a place. It's still worth doing. But there are cases where it's not worth doing. So if it's a badly designed flyer that isn't eye-catching, that doesn't have the right kind of information on, that costs you too much to print it, so it might be worth just revisiting the type of printed promo that you are involved in. Is it working for you? One great way to try and quantify how a printed promo is working is to put a code or an offer on that is individual to that flyer, poster, leaflet. So you can kind of start to quantify how successful it is because people are using a particular code, or they are quoting a particular number when they contact you, or they're emailing a particular email address that you've set up that's just on that flyer. It just, excuse me, it helps you know whether it's working or not. Social media. So there is a bazillion platforms out there, and there's lots of things that you can do on them. There's, great ways of running campaigns on social media, but there is a danger of picking all of them and very much diluting your brand, or feeling very overwhelmed, or just not doing it brilliantly because you're trying to be on all of them. So my suggestion would be to pick one or two at most and just do them really well, whether that be on Instagram, or if you love doing Snapchat, or you just love Facebook because there's a great way to connect into your community on Facebook. Just pick one or two and do it really well. Networking, a big one for me. I think it's really important, and this connects with my point with community. So networking is more about connecting with local businesses, so local business networks, social enterprises. There might be women that lunch, there might be new business, small business support groups, there might be growing support groups, farming support groups, but it's networking with your peers can be really, really beneficial. Whether you end up finding opportunities, you find ways to work with each other, or you just find a bit of moral support. And you can find that that is a great way to, without needing to do very much, promote your brand, because people are just then aware of you. They hear your story, you connect over similar stories, and you'll find that they naturally become your advocates and start talking about you. So there are different ways that you can get hooked into networking groups. There's lots mentioned on Facebook, in your local papers, on your local media channels. There will be lots of ways of connecting. Another great one is the Chamber of Commerce. Councils often run them. There's often sort of charity organisations that help run businesses and will offer advice in accounting and getting grants and all stuff like that. And quite often they have contacts of different business networking. So out of season, that might be a really good way to just hook in and build new relationships. When it comes to community, there's great things that you can get involved in, whether that be charity community stuff. So mental health charities are often really into gardening and stuff. So that's a great way to involve people in your wider community in your business. And there might be retiree groups that really want to get involved and help volunteer, and they might end up buying your stuff. But there is stuff that you can end up doing that really inserts you in a really important place in your community, so you become a really integral part and cog in your wider community. There's things like getting involved in allotment groups. Yes, they grow their own stuff, but some won't grow all year round. They often want to either top up because they'll grow what they really love and they just intend to still buy a veg box or go to their local supermarket, and they'll still want to top up, or they might have crop failures, as we all do, but they can end up, only having a small space to grow. So when they have crop failure, they don't have any extras to buy. They might be an ad hoc customer, or they might just be a small box customer that they add on, or they might just be someone that buys once their season is over and they start to dwindle with their crop. But it is worth hooking into allotment groups because there's often waiting lists as well. So if you can start doing perhaps talks with gardening groups or allotment groups or whatever, or offer your experience and advice, or offer a tour in your market garden, for example, they're having that little connection there could be really fruitful. And you will connect with like-minded people, which is never a bad thing. And there's other community groups as well. There's youth groups, so you might be able to interest a load of sort of teenagers or school leavers that might be interested in becoming part of that community or interested in the industry, or simply they might get really into it and it might encourage their parents to get involved and buy from you too. Education. So really big one is getting into schools and primary schools by a way of supporting them. So I support my local primary school because my kids are at it. I often do raffle prizes. I go to the village fete with my stall. I often give sponsorship for different things that they're doing within my business name. I get other businesses involved. I go to, obviously I'm at the school playground at pick-up time, and I often go with carrying a box or have some flowers on me, and it just seems to create conversations, and people know me and they're much more likely to buy from me in that way because they know me personally, they see me around. So there's lots of things as well with schools. You could offer yourself to do a talk perhaps at a senior school or even a primary school. There's often gardening clubs if you have time to be able to offer that, or simply doing a little handout if you know that a local school has a gardening week, which they often do because I think the RHS do year-round support for schools. You could maybe offer a little part of that, or some free tomato plants at certain times of year that just have your sticker on, and you just get a bit of a mention on the newsletter usually from the school, and you'll get a bit of a thank you. But it's a great way to involve your local community and the wider community and just show that you care and you want to be involved. Supporting other local businesses is another really good one. So you might, I know lots of you have add-ons and stock from other companies. There might be a way that you can just enhance that relationship, whether You join forces, so you share a market stall perhaps. I have a little deal with a baker in my area that I stock her stuff. Her stuff is on my website. I have stuff on my stall. If I do a village fete, etc., I will take her stuff and talk about her. She does the same for me, so she will be doing talking to me about me to her customers. She might take some of my stock on her store, a farmer's market she does, and we just have a really nice mutual agreement that we just give each other a bit of a boost. And there's a farm shop or a fruit shop that I deliver to, and they tag me on posts on Instagram. We do collaborative things on social media, and we just do a bit of mutual support that helps both of us, and it works really well. So if you are stocking local people's stuff, so for honey, for example, eggs, milk, whatever, and they have a presence online or they are known in the community, approach them about doing something together to help you both. For example, another one would be to share a flyer, perhaps. One company delivers on prints on one side and one prints on the other. You're halving your costs and you might be halving your distribution burden. So there might be lots of different ways that you can join forces and offer different things. It's a great thing to do because 9 times out of 10, they're a small business too, and they need as much help as you do. Media. There were days gone by where you could get loads of comment inches on business papers because they were just crying out for things to be written. Nowadays, with readerships toppling, they need to get the cash in. So often you have to pay for editorial/advertorial. So unfortunately, it is quite tricky. There are a few loopholes that you can get starting to get mentioned, and that would be to join up with sort of charity organisations with the stuff that you might be doing with the school, for example, or something that just shows that you're paying back to the community. So they might have somebody covering the event press-wise, a local village fete perhaps, or a charity drive or whatever. And if you have sponsored something or you're giving something for a raffle, there is a chance that you will be mentioned and featured. So you just need to think a little bit outside the box when it comes to getting column inches nowadays. There are other options. You have free magazines in quite a lot of places. So in my local area in the village, we have a free mag that goes out, which is sort of like a business directory, but to make it worth people opening, they have editorial in there. And 9 times out of 10, the people that are printing these magazines don't have the time to do the editorial as well because they're out there trying to fill out the advertising spaces. So the one that's local to me, I wrote a gardening column and I write some recipes. So the most recent one, I did 3 recipes for broad beans, and I included a picture of my stall, which was covered in punnets of broad beans, and it gives people the place to identify my brand. They see my logo, they see my stall, there was the address of my stall, and they know that I'm growing stuff, and there was my link to my website under the article. I didn't pay anything for it, I just have to invest some time. So there might be lots of different publications in your area that you could join that relationship. So places to find that out: either local newsagents often have them if they're independents. You will find them at dentists, doctors, hairdressers. You often get them through the door, and you can find them on Google too, because there's lots of places that have main websites that might distribute to lots of different places. So speak to people, find out things like that, see what you can offer to get something back. And this loops into my expert status point here. Now, don't recoil and think that I'm asking you to paint yourself as an expert in the industry and getting a bit of imposter syndrome. What I mean here is just putting yourself in a position where people know you have tons of experience. They know you know and specialize about certain subjects, and they know that they could possibly ask you to appear at events, maybe to do a speech, maybe to do a little article, maybe to do a comment in another article that someone else is writing, or to just generally appear on a podcast, for example, or a radio show, or just be there to comment on any kind of given story. So the way to do this is, as I've said with the free mag, is to put yourself out there, to do speeches possibly for the WI, to have people, gardening groups, come and visit the market garden, to put yourself out there as a commentator on certain subjects on your social media. It's just putting yourself in people's minds when they need to dip into someone's experience. And if you can do that, it ends up being a really beneficial way to get yourself some promotion without having to do very much. So when it comes to printed promo, as I've said before, it's really important to get creative, to make it colourful, make it draw people in, have the information there, have some call to action, have some way to trace it. So really think about a flyer and what it can do for your business, and what people, when it drops on their doormat or they get it handed to them in the street, how they are going to look at it. So what is the first thing that's going to draw their eye in? There's a great way to do this nowadays. It's not going to cost you very much money. There's an application, there's lots in fact, but the one I use is called Canva, and it's canva.com. You can, to a certain point, use it for free, or if you want to really start using a lot of the more professional templates, you'd have to pay, but I think it's a worthwhile investment if you're going to be doing printed promo or you're going to be doing stuff online. I use a lot of the templates for things like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. There's lots and lots of stuff on there that that you can use. I've used it for this presentation, for example. Designing it yourself gives you real control. So if you end up spending quite a lot of money using a graphic designer, you don't quite feel it hits the mark, it can be really demoralizing when you start having to hand over that money and pay for that invoice. If you're doing it yourself, yes, it's a pain in the bum, and yes, you have to dedicate time and start to learn it a bit better, but you have real control over your brand in that sense, and it is much, much, much easier than it used to be. When it comes to distribution, again, if you can team up with local businesses, or you can limit the amount of time that you do with your distribution, so handing those flyers out when you go to do your deliveries, it just cuts the onerous feeling about having to do any kind of distribution. See if you can have flyers at local beauty salons, for example, dentists, doctors, local shops, anywhere where someone's sat waiting for something is a really good place to have a flyer or a poster, because we all sit there twiddling our thumbs, if you're not sat on your phone anyway, and you're looking around and you're looking for something to read. Really think about where you could have a flyer where someone has some time to kill. Also think about other things you can have printed. So what about key rings? What about teaming up with a load of local businesses and having some tote bags that you can give away? Some pens, some t-shirts, some caps, whatever. I know they're expensive, but if you can team up with other businesses, or you find ways to cut the costs, or maybe you sell the merchandise on your website if it's really good enough. But there are ways to cut corners and ways to cut costs, and a great one would be to team up. Social media. So I've talked about it already, but unfortunately it is a necessary evil. If you don't like Facebook, Instagram, or the rest of it for your personal kind of uses, you really do have to suck it up in some cases and use it for your business. People use it to trust a brand, to do a bit of detective work on a brand. So you might have a website and they find that and you're reading your information, I would bet you that they will then go and look you up on the likes of Facebook, find out your reviews, look at you on Instagram, see how many people follow you, look at the kind of comments you're getting on products, the comments you're getting on your customer service. People don't just trust a website anymore. They will do their detective work when it comes to buying or engaging in a service. So it is a necessary evil. Don't be afraid to show the warts and all. Some of the best content I've ever done and got the best traction on is the stuff that I've failed on. So whether that be crop failures, my battle with wireworm, a huge amount of slugs, my moaning about the weather, it is the stuff that people love to see. They don't love you to have complete success. As a society, we love to see people struggle. We root for the underdog. So don't be afraid to be honest about the struggles of your business. Don't be there all the time, obviously whining and whinging and crying your eyes out when we really are. But, so monitor what you're doing, but give people some truth. Let them champion you. Let them get behind you. I have got some really loyal customers because they know my story, they know my struggles, and people really appreciate when you power through, and they love to see somebody come through a rough patch and come through the other side. It's a great thing to build your community, and that will do it. People absolutely love to feel connected to a brand nowadays. They want to know who's behind it. They want to know how it started. They want to know how it's going, and they want to know your ethos. They also love to laugh and cry along with you. So if you are into doing cute comedy reels, and I know some of you are because you do some fantastic ones, I won't name who, but I'm sure you know, and you do some brilliant ones, and putting yourself out there, and I'm sure you get brilliant traction on the ones that you really think about and you do some comedy and you do some real raw content. If that isn't for you and you'd rather not put yourself out there, you don't want to be the person in front of the camera, don't worry, you don't have to. There are ways to do it and to tell your story. You don't have to be all sort of comedy about it. That might not be right for your brand. It just might not sit with who you are. But you can tell a story about your brand and do some unexpected stuff online just to give people a window into your world. So you might do, for example, there might be a panning video across your market garden, or you might zoom in on a load of slugs eating a cabbage. You could perhaps do a voiceover, or you could put it with a funny soundtrack, for example, and you could just write the text. But it's just giving someone a bit more of a connection and less of a salesy branded content. Again, please don't recoil. This is another marketing term that's being used a lot at the moment, but I just want to use this as a few sort of examples. Disruptive marketing is simply thinking outside of the box. It's doing something that somebody's not expecting from your brand. So some great examples here from big brands. So I'm not expecting you to do anything similar to this, but it's just a really good example, and hopefully it might possibly spring some ideas. Absolute Vodka and Heinz teamed up during the pandemic and they did it absolutely brilliant. It completely came out of left field. People loved hearing about it, loved what they did virally about it, and the advert and the brand and the product was really well received. Spotify did this great thing where they were just taking the mick out of themselves a little bit, or taking a mick out of their subscribers, but it worked in a really nice way. And it ended up being something that went viral, something that people went out and looked for. And it was something that got shared and appreciated and laughed about and talked about. Created a buzz, which is often the thing you want in marketing. You want people to talk about what you're up to. And it was a great example. The other one that I absolutely love, and I urge you to go and look up if you haven't looked it up before, is the Yorkshire Tea Packet advert. It was absolutely incredible. I won't try to sing it or even try to demonstrate how it went, so please just look it up. But it was absolutely awesome. Again, I'm not suggesting you do this in any way, but it is a really good example of how to put a spin, or just how to take the mick out of yourself a little bit, or just how to create a story or something for people to talk about, or just something to enjoy. Even if you don't find it useful, just go and watch it for a laugh. So company analysis, I won't spend ages on this. I'll just kind of mention it again. It hooks in with doing your marketing strategy. It's just having a little think about you and your business. So what are your strengths and your uniqueness? This will help shape the marketing you do. So what puts you above your competitors? What do you do really well? What do you do differently? So you might offer a product differently. You might present your box differently. You might deliver on a different day. You might be a bit cheaper. You might be a bit quicker. However it is, focus on that and see how you can draw it into your marketing to really show and sing about what you're brilliant at. When it comes to opportunities with the partnerships and things that you do form, for example, if you paired up with local businesses, where can that opportunity take you? Can you really think about it? Can you look at that business and think, what are they doing that I could really help and join up with? What might they be able to bring to my business, and what can I offer them, and where can that opportunity lead? At the same time, it's worth, when you do join these partnerships and say you're 6 months down the line into them, are they worth it? Is the time that I'm investing into it, am I getting something back? Is it a two-way street? Always worth taking that time to just have a little think rather than chugging on and doing something that's not really paying back. Weaknesses, what aren't you brilliant at? Do you need to be better at it, or do you just need to kick it to the curb, or do you just have it as a necessary evil, but it doesn't get mentioned in any of your marketing? There will be things like that happen. So it's just worth highlighting that for yourself to make sure if you do need to deliver attention, you can do so. Threats. Who are your competitors? It's always worth having them in your rear view just in case they are doing something that you need to think about doing, if they have some great ideas that you need to counteract. Although I wouldn't suggest trying to get into a really competitive vibe, because often that can be quite negative and just not really worth it. But it's always good to have an awareness of what everybody else is up to. Also awareness of what you're up to. So your time, your budget, your manpower. So when you're thinking about a campaign, for example, a flyer campaign or a massive campaign on social media, although the idea might be absolutely awesome and it's giving you a real kick, have you got time to do it? Have you got available budget to do it? And more importantly, have you got the manpower to see it through? Just think about that and try to reel yourself in a little bit if you do have an idea. I'm a terrible one for it. I get really excited. I think I can pull it off. And then when I really sit down and think about it, I realize that I'm a single person. I have a family. I have another job and I have zero spare time. So sometimes I have to rein things in. So with that, pick 3 and smash it. Do something really well rather than do loads of stuff badly. So pick 3 things that you're going to aim for in the next 12 months. That might be doing your Instagram stuff really well. So constantly posting. So you might be do 2 or 3 posts a week, but you do them really well. They're really thought out. You're connecting with customers on there. You're aiming to have interactions on there that will help build your brand. You're just going to do that one really well. You might, for example, hook in with schools. So you might start sponsoring an event. You might putting in raffle prizes. You might start running a gardening club. You might start offering yourself out to do a few talks at certain times of the year, or have the schools come and visit you. There might be something that you do within 12 months that means that is what you're going to focus on, and you're going to do that really well. And partnerships, for example, you're going to focus on building a partnership with a really good local company that aligns with yours, and you're going to see where that can take you, and spend 12 months dedicating yourself to that and just building that relationship, looking at expanding it, looking at how you can halve your costs with that company, how you can attract more customers from their customer database, and just do that really well rather than trying to do loads of stuff. So I'm going to leave it at that. I've waffled on for 30 minutes, so I hope you found it useful. By all means, feel free to email me if you want to chat anything through. I'm more than happy to have a quick call with you, or just feedback on maybe a flyer you've designed. On that note, I have also put on a Google folder, and I've done a template flyer, a template poster, and a template giveaway about local produce. You can use these, you can insert your logos. They're PDFs, print ready PDFs, so you can edit them if you wish to. Or if you don't have the ability or the confidence to do that, feel free to send me your logo and I can pop it in and send it back to you as a printable file if you need to use it. I hope you found this useful in some way. I hope you have a fantastic season, and thank you if you've got to the end of this presentation for your time.